All right, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna trace out the section of this poster board that I want on our canvas. And then I'm gonna cut it out. And notice how I put it right on the edge. So I got a nice straight edge, I don't have to cut that edge. Now I'm gonna cut this out best that I can, nice and straight, take my time. Trying to cut on the inside of this line, just barely. And we'll dry fit it obviously and make sure we don't need to trim it up anymore. You can also use like a razor blade and a straight edge to cut this. So now that we have that, we're gonna take our canvas and we're gonna set it on there. And looks like we got a pretty good fit here. Now that that's cut, we're gonna spray paint this edge so it's not white. We'll do one of the colors that are in this. We'll just spray paint this edge real quick. Now we're gonna take Mod Podge and we're gonna put on the canvas, and that's gonna create an adhesive layer basically. I like to scratch it real quick, and then we'll kind of leave it on a little bit thicker. You don't want it on too thick, but you don't want it on too thin either, where it won't grab nothing. That's pretty much it for that. Now we're going to take our adhesive, try to get it close as we can. And we're going to be able to move that around and get it nice and situated right where we want it. I think that's pretty good. Alright, so I'm mixing up our liquid glass epoxy resin right now. It's 2-to-1 ratio. And then we're just gonna flood coat this poster that we glued onto some canvas. And the sides were white, and we just took a spray paint color that was similar to a color on the poster and just spray painted the edge instead of having it white. It blends in a lot better. But it's cool because once we add this epoxy to this poster, it's gonna really make it, the colors pop. It's gonna be really high gloss, make it really vibrant. And you can do this with almost any poster out there using the Mod Podge as the gluing agent. And it works really, really well. Just make sure you put some weights on it. Put it upside down, put some weights on it. That's what we did, so it had some good pressure while that Mod Podge was drying. So once you guys got this mixed good, you want to make sure you got it mixed good. Scrape your sides, scrape the bottom. Make sure your measurements are correct. We're gonna do a nice thick flood coat. So I'm just gonna pour it down the middle. Then I'll do little beads around the edges. But resin makes everything cooler. So when you're doing flood coats and top coats, you definitely don't want to use a nap roller. You don't want to use anything that can shed and leave hairs in it. And I'm just gonna kind of spread this around with my stir stick. And really all I need my paintbrush for is to paintbrush the edges on. So So I'm just getting it nice and close to the edges, not letting it really run off yet. Some of it will start to run off. You can kind of pull it back. The whole idea here is to just kind of get the top evened out a little bit, and then we'll start running it out the edge and start painting the edges. But look how much cooler this poster looks now with some epoxy on it. And you can do pictures, art pieces, drawings, pretty much anything you want, really. You can epoxy over it. I will say, if you're doing big canvases that have the fabric stretched across, you're gonna wanna put a board so it doesn't have any flex. This doesn't have any flex to it, really. But if you're doing a canvas with the fabric on it, this will be flexible and the material will add weight to it, and it'll just level out in the middle. So you wanna put some kind of board or something underneath it so it gets nice and flat. Okay, so now I'm pretty much happy with that. Notice how there's no bubbles. We're not really torching this at all. We haven't torched it, sprayed nothing, and it's laying out glass smooth. So where I know it's thick, I'm gonna start kind of saturate this paint stick, get it kind of soaked up in epoxy. Now I'm gonna run it right to the edges. And I'm gonna just kind of angle it nice and flat. And if you hold it at an angle, you don't move as much resin. If I tilt it straight up, it's almost like a squeegee. It just moves a lot. As long as you kind of hold it at an angle, move it around, it's not moving the epoxy, it's just kind of leveling it out. So now I'm happy with the top. I'm gonna brush the edges on. But it just makes it look a lot richer and way more vibrant and cooler with that flood coat of epoxy on there. So this is gonna drip for the next probably half hour, 45 minutes. So we'll wanna come back, take a paint stick, scrape the bottom edges, the drips off. Another way is you can tape the underside edge, put a piece of tape around it, and then when it's dry the next day, pull that tape and it'll take off all your drip lines that way too. But it's just as simple to just scrape them with the paint stick. But look at that, no torch, no chemical sprayed, glass smooth, super high gloss, and it levels out like nothing else. It's a super fluid epoxy designed for art pieces, flood coats, pretty much anything you want to do. It can accept all types of pigments. The stuff is amazing. Look how awesome this turned out. Just a cheap poster. It wasn't even an HD print, and once we added our liquid glass clear epoxy on it, it made the colors pop. It made it look really high end, and it laid out just glass smooth. Super easy, super fun, and the possibilities are endless with our clear resin.